For the sake of what's about to unfold, I'll keep my name out of this. Where I live, too. Some details are better left unsaid, especially given the nature of what I encountered. I've always been a bit of a loner. Not in a sad, sit by yourself at lunch kind of way, but more like I enjoy my own company. Books, movies, long walks through the city at night. It was peaceful, calming. But then, the silence of my apartment started to feel a bit too loud. That's when I decided maybe it was time to get a dog. Not just any dog, but a companion. Someone to greet me at the door with a wagging tail, to fill the quiet with the soft sound of breathing as it slept at the foot of my bed. I scoured Craigslist, hoping to find a rescue in need of a home. That's when I stumbled upon the ad. Urgent. Loving dog needs new home due to relocation. The picture showed a golden retriever with the kindest eyes. It felt like fate. I reached out using Craigslist's secure email system. The response was almost immediate. A man on the other side, claiming he was heartbroken to part with his buddy, but had no choice due to an unexpected move. He sounded genuine, distressed even. We agreed to meet in a public parking lot on the outskirts of town. Safer for both of us, he had said. I remember thinking it was considerate, despite the odd location. The day was overcast, the kind of gray that makes everything feel subdued. I arrived early, the hum of my car engine filling the silence as I waited. Anxiety bubbled in my stomach, not from fear, but from the anticipation of meeting my potential new companion. When he finally arrived, something felt off. He was too hurried, glancing around more than at me or the dog. The dog, on the other hand, seemed just as kind as its photo, albeit a bit more subdued, likely sensing the tension in the air. We exchanged few words. The transaction felt more like a handoff, and before I knew it, I was back in my car with the dog in the back seat, watching the man drive off a bit too quickly in my rearview mirror. A twinge of unease settled in, but I brushed it off as nerves. After all, I had a new friend to focus on, and that's all that mattered. Or so I thought. The drive back felt lighter, despite the heavy clouds overhead. Glancing at the rearview mirror, I saw him curled up in the back seat, a soft sigh escaping his lips every so often. It was decided, right then. Our first stop wouldn't be home but the pet store. He needed everything. A collar, a leash, food, and of course toys. I found myself wandering down the aisles, picking up more than necessary. A plush bed caught my eye, and I couldn't resist. He deserves the best, I thought, imagining him sprawled out on it, content. At the checkout, I smiled, unloading my cart full of kibble, chew toys, and that plush bed, which seemed more fitting for a king. The cashier remarked on the haul, and I found myself sharing a snippet of the day's unexpected adventure. "He's been through enough," I said, more to myself than to her. In the car, I turned to him, still unsure of a name. "What suits you?" I pondered, studying his calm demeanor. Something noble, something kind. The names danced in my head as we drove home, each one a possibility for my new shadow. The lightness of the moment, the sheer normalcy of it, felt like a balm. That night was so still you could hear a pin drop, until a sudden knock echoed through my quiet home, making my heart skip a beat. Nobody ever came by unannounced, especially not at this late hour. I crept towards the door, my footsteps barely making a sound, and pulled up the live feed from my Ring camera. There, to my disbelief, was the man from the parking lot, standing on my doorstep. Panic set in. I hadn't given him my address, so how did he find me? The knocking grew louder, more forceful, as if he was demanding to be let in. I watched, frozen, as he paced back and forth, his shadow casting an ominous figure that seemed to fill the entire screen. My safe haven suddenly felt like a glass cage, transparent and vulnerable. The excitement of the day, the joy of bringing home a new friend, was quickly overshadowed by fear. How had a simple act of kindness led to this moment of terror? With every knock, the sense of danger grew, turning my once peaceful night into a nightmare. The banging on the door kept getting louder, like he was throwing his whole body against it. I was frozen, my back pressed against the hallway wall, barely breathing. The sound seemed to echo in the empty rooms, each bang a clear message that he was determined to get in. Then, the focus shifted. I heard the faint sound of him trying the windows, the soft scuffle of hands against glass, the gentle but firm rattling of each frame. My heart was racing, thumping so loud I was sure he could hear it from outside. I tiptoed from window to window, making sure each one was locked, the curtains drawn tight. The shadows cast by the streetlights outside moved with him, a constant reminder that he was still there, lurking. I could feel the cool sweat on my forehead, the dryness in my mouth. Every small sound made me jump. The house settling, a distant car passing. It was as if the night itself had come alive with the threat he posed. The waiting was the worst part, not knowing what he'd try next or if he'd find a way in. It was a game of cat and mouse, only I was trapped and he was on the prowl. The fear was tangible, a heavy blanket smothering me, making each moment feel like an eternity. Shaking, I grabbed my phone and dialed 911, my voice trembling as I spoke. "There's someone trying to break into my house," I whispered, glancing towards the windows and door, expecting him to burst through at any moment. I grabbed Knight. Yes, I quickly named him Knight because I really needed a knight in shining armor at that point. Pulling him close, his small frame shaking as much as mine. We huddled together in the corner of my bedroom, the dog's soft whimpers mixing with my ragged breaths. Holding him, I felt a flicker of comfort, his presence a small beacon of warmth in the cold grip of fear that surrounded us. In the tense quiet of the room, Knight's steady breathing was the only sound. As I stroked his fur, trying to calm us both, my fingers stumbled upon his collar. It was odd, heavier than it should be. Curiosity piqued. I examined it closer, fumbling until I found a small, hard lump sewn into the fabric. Peeling back the layers, I uncovered a tiny, metallic chip. The realization hit me like a cold wave. A GPS chip. That's how he found us. This man had tracked us to my very doorstep, using Knight as his unwitting beacon. The terror of the situation deepened, the implications far more sinister than I could have imagined. The flashing lights of the police car cut through the darkness, a sight that's never been more welcome. They moved quickly, securing the area and apprehending the man still lurking outside. Relief washed over me in shaky waves as they led him away, handcuffed. Despite the immediate danger being gone, I was left feeling vulnerable, my sense of security shattered. The sanctuary of my home felt breached, and the ease I once felt within its walls seemed like a distant memory. The morning after the incident, my phone rang with a call that made the hair on the back of my neck stand up. It was the police, and they had unsettling information about the man who'd tried to force his way into my home. They explained that this wasn't a one-time occurrence. The man had a history, a pattern of preying on women who responded to his seemingly harmless ads about rehoming dogs. As they detailed his method, a cold dread settled over me. He would steal dogs, fit them with GPS collars, and then use the animals as bait in his twisted game. When a woman would respond to the ad and take the dog home, he'd follow the GPS signal, often waiting until the cover of darkness to make his move. The police believed he had done this at least 5 times before, each time growing more bold and more dangerous. The stories they shared were harrowing. One woman was attacked in her garage, caught off guard as she returned from a late shift. Another was ambushed right at her front door, much like I had been, only she hadn't had the security of a Ring camera to alert her to the danger lurking outside. Each tale was a chilling echo of what could have happened to me, a stark reminder of the fine line between safety and peril in our seemingly mundane choices. Listening to the officer recount these attacks, each detail was a weight, pressing down on me with the realization of how close I had come to being another one of his victims. The thought of Knight, the dog I had taken in just hours before, being used as a tool in such a malicious scheme was both heartbreaking and horrifying. It was a stark reminder of the darkness that can hide behind even the most innocent of facades, and a lesson I would never forget. Reflecting on that harrowing night, I realized how a simple online ad nearly led me into a nightmare. Knight, once just a dog in need of a home, has become a symbol of the ordeal we survived together, a testament to resilience in the face of unforeseen dangers. This experience has taught me the critical importance of caution in online interactions, transforming me into an advocate for safe online adoptions. Sharing my story, I hope to prevent others from facing similar perils, advocating for vigilance and safety in the digital world we navigate daily.